Alright, so I'm taking this out again, not because of anything wrong with the actual deck, more so what's wrong with this. This is a line output inverter. I have one already installed in there. This is the first one that blew up, and now the second one has officially blown up, so I got tired of that one. I only got it because it was recommended on YouTube, of course. So I'm going to try this one, and if it works out better for me, I am going to recommend it for you guys, of course. So this is what I'm going to be installing today. I'm going to be taking out the old one and basically showing you guys what I had to do to wire this up to the harness. It's not that difficult, especially when these are color coordinated to pretty much every car. Although this one's slightly different, it's the same idea. The gray and the white wires are for speakers, yellow is for power, black is for ground, and blue is, of course, remote. So yeah, this one works a little bit differently, and it has its own little controller, which this one does not have, aside from the one that's connected to it. So it would be better to have it hooked up to the speakers in the back, which I did have at one point, but it blew up back there, and then it blew up inside of here. So it sounded better when it was in here than it did in the back. I don't exactly know why. They're the same exact box, and I didn't tweak it or anything right here or move anything. But yeah, I'm going to just be taking this out. So I already took out the other two trims. Now I just need to take out the screw that's in the middle, and I'll be taking out the deck. Alright, so I know wiring can be scary for some people. These are all accessory wires to the stereo, so you do not have to worry about these in specific. So the ones you need to worry about are, like I said, the color ones, which are the gray, the white, the black, the yellow. So everything is color coded, so you really cannot mess this up. As I said, on the other one, it did have an optional brown wire, which I did not connect to, and this one does not have, which is good. And I'm going to be taking out the old box, which is now also blown, and hooking up the new box. As you guys can see, I did this differently, and it still decided to blow up. So, done with this box, and I'm going to not recommend you buy this one. And if I did recommend you to buy this one and it's still working, that's good. But for me, this is the second box, and they're not that cheap, so I'm disappointed. They are one of the cheaper options, but it's not the cheapest. So it's like a mid-grade, which was a good recommendation, but yeah, it didn't work for me. Anyway, so this is the stock harness to the stereo, which is still stock. I do not like chopping up the original wires. I use the aftermarket harness that goes to the actual aftermarket stereo, which sometimes is an adapter, but this one came like this for that stereo. So, I mean, it just depends on what you got. You can make your own harness, which is pretty simple, which you would do for any aftermarket deck anyway. But yeah, I'm going to disconnect this, and this is going to be my new harness, because I do not want to tap into these again. I just want to extend the wires because I want to move this as far away as possible, more so down there than anything, just so that it's out of the way for the stereo to sit there flush and not be hitting or rocking on this. So I'm going to cut these actually very short to this, because I do not need this harness or this wire anymore. And I'm going to be using the wiring for this one. Well, actually, we'll see how long these wires are, and then I'll decide whether or not I'll shorten or extend these wires. Alright, so I disconnected the harness that goes into the stereo, just so that I can have a little bit more room to work with. So, like I said, it's not rocket science. Every single wire will have its own color, so it's very universal for stereos anyway. So you just plug and play. So I do plan on soldering these. I do want to test them before all the soldering and everything. So I just put black tape for now, solder it later, kind of like all of these, which were kind of disconnected at one point, had to resolder them. Just kind of hacked up this harness myself. So, I mean, you don't have to do that. So I'm gonna reconnect all these. I didn't solder this one because when I take out the harness, when I disconnect this harness, I normally disconnect this a lot for updates and things for the stereo. So this one's the only one, aside from the remote, that are not soldered. Everything else is soldered. So, gonna test this out. I'm not sure how I can tell when this turns on, but the only way that I can tell if it's working is if the amp in the back turns on. So after taping these up, plugging everything in, I'm gonna, by plugging everything in, I mean plugging this back into the stereo and plugging in the RCAs to this and the remote. If the amp in the back turns on, that means we're good. If the amp in the back is giving power to the speaker, that means we're good. And if it isn't, something's wrong with either with the amp or with the wiring. I doubt it's going to be the wiring, but you know, let's just get it back in the car. All right, so I have separated the wires that I need. As you can see, this is the ground, this is the power, and this is the speaker wires. So these are all the wires that we need. The remote, like I said, is on its own little thing that goes back to the subwoofer. If you guys know anything about speakers, if you don't, that's just so that the car knows when to turn power off to the amp and when to give it power when you turn on the car. So I'm gonna cut all these wires to even length. The only one I'm not gonna be doing, obviously, is the power, but that should be fine. Then I'm gonna be hooking up each individual wire to this, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so as I figured, the wires were kind of short and I want to run this a lot farther down. I might even take out this and this so I can really have it sitting low, where it won't interfere with the stereo at all, or when I take up and down the stereo, just the harness moves, and this harness will lead down rather than be really close and just move around with it, if that makes kind of sense. But yeah, so this is actually like a completely different unit. Like, already I'm more impressed with this than I was with that. This is not as heavy, for one, as this one, so that already, you know, impresses me a little bit more. The packaging was better. I don't have the packaging for the other one, but it was way better. And this guy is gonna go either inside of this or somewhere on the side, somewhere where I can reach it, maybe even down here like some people. So it's gonna be double-sided tape, so I'm not really too worried about where exactly I'm gonna put it. But I am actually thinking now that right around here, because I don't really move my seat forward that much, so I won't really interfere with it there, and I can easily hide the rest of this wiring through the back of the dashboard. So yeah, I'm going to start chopping up these wires. Basically, the only one that I don't need to extend is the remote wire because it is pretty down there already. You guys can see my RCAs are down back here, and I can actually put them lower because that's as long as they are. Unfortunately, I should have gotten some longer ones. So yeah, I am going to, and by the way, this is not the brown wire. This is the black wire. Let me see. Just over here. So basically what I did is I took the black wire and made it as my extended ground wire. So don't panic. This is not brown. This is supposed to be black. So yeah, the ones we're worried about are these gray ones and these white ones, because those are the only ones that we have here. Gray ones and white ones for the speakers, ground, and power. And then our remote is on the other side. So I'm pretty sure I already said that and I'm rambling now. So let's go ahead and get rid of this box, cut the wires, and I'll be right back. All right, so the radio's back on. Okay, I don't want that copyrighted music, but as you guys can see, I'm gonna go to the car settings. So this is where we'll bring you, and this is where you want to go, is to the sound. So to get rid of this loud beeping sound, turn that off. And if you don't want your stereo to make a lot of static noise, I highly recommend turning loud off. Not only does it make it quieter at the lower volumes, because if you get to like 4 or 5, the sound's already super loud, whereas right here 16 or 15 is kind of loud but not too much. But yeah, so you want to turn that off if you want the best sound. And now we're gonna go back. Obviously Bluetooth, I can't really show you guys the Bluetooth right now, but I'm gonna test it off camera, because when I am recording, I can't hear Bluetooth at the same time, which is, you know, kind of dumb, but you know, I'm gonna check that out and make sure everything is still working, that I disconnected and reconnected. Then I'm gonna go check on the amp. All right, so in the middle of all of this, the radio decided to stop working, and I couldn't figure out why. And then out of nowhere, the light flickered and went out. I don't even know why it was on in the first place, but I was like, okay, there's no way they both could be connected, because I was pushing the button, and nothing would happen. So I go in, I change the obviously blown fuse for the interior lights, and then the radio turns on. And I put this original one back on just to make sure that it was not my aftermarket stereo. But in case this ever happens to you, the interior lights is why your radio does not turn on. Don't know why they're connected, but they are. A lot of people keep asking me about the AC controls for this, and I've gone over it. They're integrated because they don't see buttons on here. But anyway, I'm just reconnecting everything that I disconnected. I am sure that it's gonna work, so I'm just hooking it up, going like pretty confident into this that it's just gonna work. So I'm hooking up every single wire. I'm organizing the wiring so that it's not a big mess back here, even though it looks like a big mess regardless. I'm just trying to organize it so the wires don't really snag that much, but it's just reconnecting everything to the stereo itself, and that's about it. Like all the accessories, don't forget your antenna. That is going to be the last thing that I connect before putting it in place. I'm not going to put any of the screws in just in case I need to pull it back out, but I am going to put it in place so that I can have this space down here to work with and put this in the back. But yeah. Alright, so the only other thing that I wanted to test was this. Which I'm not seeing much of a difference at all. It was turned all the way up, so I'm gonna just leave it all the way up and not worry about it. The main thing that concerned me was, you know, the subwoofer not working. The subwoofer works now, so I don't care that that doesn't work. But anyway, that is the product at the beginning of the video. I'll put a link down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is a install for a line output inverter for this stereo, for any stereo really, but here it is. So I found a way to make it so that I don't have to disconnect from the Bluetooth. So anyway, I'm just recording this now. As you guys can see, the subwoofer's working. I have it on just bass at the moment, so I mean, sound's coming out kind of clearly, but you know, this song's not really the best. Okay, as you guys can see, the moment I clicked play, the music stopped playing, but it was playing. So now I'm gonna go ahead and go to the back and check on the amp. Just like that, the amp is getting power, which before it was not getting power, by the way. So yeah, that is how I have a subwoofer in my car. The rest is the easy part, is connecting the speaker, the subwoofer back in. But yeah, I'm getting power to the subwoofer, and the last test I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn off, and if it doesn't work, you're not getting a good signal right here. So I'm gonna go get the subwoofer, test it out, and I'll be right back.